you're in people's faces for good, in good
just
ways.
there and like, let's go, 3, 2, 1, all out, walk it off, like jog it out, let's go. Like it's nonstop, like Orange Theory. The amount of like energy it takes to be good coach. Like there are very coaches who are just like those personal trainers. They have that personal trainer background, so they don't know how to maybe cultivate that energy, or they don't have the passionate to do it either. And that's where we look at the passion and process, right? Some people are passionate, they don't have process. Some people process, but they can't get the passion. They just can't ignite it. But for me, because, fitness kind of saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was partying a lot, and I realized that it helped my depression, and it pulled me out, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I wanted every single person I interacted with to have that same feeling.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
So you remember at an Orange Theory for a while, loving it. It's part of your life. It's how you see yourself now. Yeah. You see yourself as like that athletic.
I just found
fit,
my passion
strong,
of being an athlete again, right?
And then how long did it take for you to realize like, hey, why don't I just start doing this?
So I got into, I thought I wanted to go to law school at a point. And also like, I thought I wanted to be in the Air Force at a point. There's a lot of, you're in your 20s. You don't know what the hell you're doing. And I worked for a law firm at the time, actually. I was doing foreclosure litigation, because at that time was when foreclosures were happening, 2008,
This after
2009.
recession,
Yes. And before I was doing real estate. I'm sorry. I did real estate right out of college. So I worked for big investors. I worked for a lady who was hired by big investors. So like Beazer, who's a developer, they opened a whole different sector of buying foreclosed homes. So we got that contract. So I would go into foreclosed homes, look at it, be like, all right, we can rent this for this amount of money, and go and lease it for a 13-month lease. Well, Beazer got their 12-month lease, and we got the 1-month funding. So I was making a lot of money at 21 years old, 22 years old. I would make, I think it was like 70% commission on. So if I rented a house that was $2,000, the day they moved in, 7% of that $2,000 was getting paid to me. If I had 5 move-ins in a day,
jeez.
I was making a lot of money. I was spending a lot of money too. I was living a very bougie lifestyle. And at that time, obviously I was 21, I was still drinking. I was going out, and like this was great. Living the high life, going shopping, buying the True Religion jeans, because 10 years ago True Religion was the thing. The Louis Vuitton purse, you name it, like Movado watches, all of that stuff. It was just a very materialistic, because now I'm like, here it is.
Yeah.
Long story short, there are not enough hours in the day. There are not enough days in the week. My boss was a hustler, and she worked me into the ground. I got sick, and I remember I didn't answer my marketing phone, and she left me a voicemail. Mind you, I was almost on my way to the emergency room. And she was like, either you call me or I'll decide if you have a job in the morning. And I was like, there's just no sympathy. It was just money, 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 money. And, me making money meant she made money too.
Right.
And she had multiple people like us. So that 30% racked up. Wow. When you have 10 other girls running around all Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough County, leasing up these homes. Wow. And Beazer's has a ton of money just to keep buying them.
Wow.
I'd be in Fishhawk, Palm Harbor, South St. Pete in the same day. So she really didn't care about us. And that was very apparent when I woke up that morning and I listened to my marketing phone, and I was like, oh my God. And you know what I did? I walked into my office. She was in Pennsylvania training up, because we actually got a contract to lease a whole apartment community in Pennsylvania. So she took 3 girls up there, and she was training them up to leave them up there to come back to Florida. And I took my marketing phone, I took my keys, I took all of it, and I went to my office. I gave it to my assistant. I go, I'm done. I just gave it to her and I walked out. She called me for a week straight. I had no plan.
You had no plan.
I had no plan.
But you just did cold turkey.
I flipped the switch.
And then never.
I flipped the switch.
You never talked to her again?
Never talked to her again.
Wow.
I did. I don't want this in my life. I don't need somebody like this in my life. You could care less that, I'm making so much money. And like, yes, of course I was making money too. And she would counteract that. Like, that was just her argument. Well, look how much money you have now. Look at the lifestyle you're living right now. Mm-hmm. You like that, don't you? That's because of me. This is very narcissistic, very manipulative. kind of, sort of, you know.
Especially it's pretty easy with
a young 20-year-old.
Young 20,
yeah,
whatever
21,
year old.
22, yeah.
And you're making that kind of money, and you're like, oh, I do kind of like the money. And
yes, and we did. And she would take us out shopping too.
Sure.
We would go to Blue Martini and drink afterwards, and then she would like, let's go shopping. And there was no limit. She would take us into Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Nordstrom, anywhere, and just buy us whatever we wanted. It was a very like abusive relationship, I would say too. Yeah. But you're young, you don't realize that, you know?
No.
So I just left. That was it. So I had the experience in real estate at this point. I had experience in foreclosures working with Beezer. I had experience in leasing and consulting. And I went and worked at a law firm. I go, you know what? I want easy. I want a 9 to 5. I don't want a 6 a.m. to a 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 368 days a year, 10 days a week. So I went and worked at a law firm. And I did foreclosure litigation. I was just like a very small legal assistant in a very big foreclosure law firm, which they popped up everywhere at that time. Mm-hmm. Foreclosure law firms were everywhere. I learned the whole litigation process of foreclosures, how long they could take, you know, that HOAs can foreclose on your home, like all the legalities in and out. And I worked there for a year straight. And it was great. I mean, it was a good experience. It was so boring. And that's when I realized I'm like a monkey could do my job.
Right.
It was so boring. It was checking boxes every day. I'm like
while you're doing that, you're making
I started at
fitness,
Orange Theory.
You're making the fitness a priority in your life, and then you're kind of realizing, like, I really am passionate about this.
Yeah, I worked another job after that, too.
Oh, wow.
So I started at Orange Theory when I was at the foreclosure firm, and I got the opportunity to go work for a asset management company, so dealing with mortgages as well. And I knew nothing. I started from the bottom. I was literally like I can't remember what my title was called, but like at the bottom. And they hired me on a whim. And she liked the CEO liked my personality. And she was like, you're really, you know, personal person. Like, sure, we'll train you on. Started at the bottom, worked my way up team lead, worked my way up to just all the way up to client trade manager, which the next move in our company would be VP. And there's multiple VPs, you know, but client trade manager meant I had Carvel investors. I had Citigroup. You know, you had your own investors that you directly corresponded with. Anyway, so basically what they did was they facilitated the buys and sells of mortgage pooled loans. So you have a mortgage, and you have absolutely gotten a letter in the mail that says, hey, your mortgage has been sold to Wells Fargo.
Yep.
Well, during that process, how this company came about was when you buy and sell, you have to have a complete package. So during the time where they were giving out mortgage loans left and right, you know, when everything collapsed and it was relatively easy, there were unsigned notes. There was unsigned documentation. There has to be a trail. If you have an unsigned note, that's basically like you don't have to pay your bill, like for lack of a better word. You have to find a lost note affidavit, which means somebody has to assume the responsibility of losing the note. But you would sell these and it would depreciate the value of the mortgage loan without a complete trail. So what our company did was, hey, bring it to us. We'll analyze these hundreds of thousands of loans. Oh, this one's missing a note. This one's missing a signature. This one's missing title policy. This one's missing assignment of mortgage, which is the trail from, you know, Navy Federal to Wells Fargo to Citigroup, Citigroup to, you know, like Fifth Third. And you have to assign a mortgage. It has to be recorded with the county. We would do that. We would take it in. We would take an imperfect mortgage and we would make it perfect and we'd double the value and they would take it and they would sell it again.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that people don't know in the back end.
It's crazy because at the end of the day, it's all just numbers on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
There's, you know.
Yeah.
It's just
you as a person, you're nothing.
It's just,
yeah.
It's in the air.
Yeah.
There's no exchange of cash or, you know, anything tangible.
So I worked my way up in that.
It's so interesting.
And during that whole time, I started bodybuilding in 2015. And I was still working.
So that's a little on the side while you're working.
Doing Orange Theory.
Orange Theory.
I was eat, sleep, breathe, repeat Orange Theory. Loved it.
What was the appeal to bodybuilding? Like, what did you see or who did you see that was like, I kind of like...
Honestly, I just wanted to see if I could give up cookies for 18 weeks. I swear to God. Yeah. Like, it's the craziest thing. People are like, what made you get into bodybuilding? I was like, I just wanted to see if I can give up cookies.
So it was the nutrition. It was the kind of the eating...
Who doesn't want to see themselves at 10% body fat?
Right.
So I was like, I had no idea what I was getting. Like, if you look at my first pictures, we didn't know if I was going to do bikini or, like, we had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
I just went in, I was like, and I promise you, my coach, and if he listens to this podcast, he'd laugh. He did not take me seriously. I guarantee he didn't. And I was like, this guy hates me. And I'm just like, whatever, like, come and do my check-ins. But he didn't realize, like, my personality. remember I told you, I'm either all in or I'm not.
Right.
I'm never half-assing anything. So I was all in. And slowly as we chipped away, because I'd been an athlete my whole life, I was squatting 225 pounds as a freshman in high school when I was in Texas. I've been squatting since 7th grade. So when people ask me, how do you get your legs? Well, I've been lifting weights since 7th grade in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, and then when I moved, I continued to work out. Even with the lack of fitness throughout college, I was always an athlete.
The muscle memory was there.
It's
the foundation was laid.
The muscle fiber's always there, you know? So, I got right back. I mean, I was at the point when I went and saw Steve was 2015. I'd already been lifting for 2 years at that point on my own at LA Fitness. I met my husband actually at LA Fitness. He saw me. He's like, oh, if you ever want a workout partner, completely platonic. We worked out for 2 months, and I took him on our first date. Yeah, it was great. I was like, you want to go to a WWE match, Monday Night Raw? And he's like, hell yeah. And I'm like, let's go. Yeah.
So it was just totally just like a friendship at the gym, like kind of just training together.
Yeah.
And then that's what
we just saw each other. We meet and like, hey, let's train, let's work out. And like, all right, see you later. Let me know what time you're going to be here tomorrow. Maybe I'll catch you here. Maybe I won't. Wow. Yeah, it was very just like kind of like fly by night, just like, all right, whatever. Very nonchalant. You know, it wasn't like, but he grew on me. He's such a nice person. He's so sweet. He's like, and that was it too, is I had been through the cycle of like dating the asshole. Yep. Every part of my language. Okay. But every woman goes through that.
Yep.
And I, here's this nice guy who showed up for me at the gym, who helped me, who pushed me, who was just encouraging, who had good conversation with. Mm-hmm. Totally not my type because he's a nice guy.
Yeah, right.
Good looking. But I'm like, how many good looking guys who are nice?
That's right.
There's a lot of good looking guys out there, but they're just like, So I was like, you know what? I'm flipping the script. Let's date the nice guy.
Right.
And Kyle is such my yin and my yang. Like, I am very aggressive.
Yeah.
As a person.
He's more soft spoken and chill.
Very chill, very easygoing. He's almost introverted when you first meet him until you get to know him. Yeah. He'll be talkative. He'll make you laugh. Funniest person you ever met. But he's so nice. Like, that's one thing about Kyle. Like, even people who work with him. Yeah. Like, everybody who knows him loves him. I've never met anybody who doesn't like Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, people just don't not like him. They just love him.
Yeah.
He's a good human. And, but yeah, in that, obviously, 2013, this is 2023, 10 years this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I changed my lifestyle and started working out, like, God delivered. And I met this amazing person, and I took on faith. We went on our first date, and that's it. So yeah, I started bodybuilding in 2015 when I worked at the mortgage asset company. And at the time, my coach at Orange Theory was like, you want to be a coach? Like, people thought I was a coach when I worked out there.
Yeah. They'd be like, she must work here.
Yeah, they thought, 100% all the time because I have this type A personality for form. Mm-hmm. So I self-taught myself everything. Like, I wanted to the muscles. I would like read again, read some more, watch some YouTube videos, and I was on it like white on rice. I had to master it. Anytime I don't know something since that time when I was sitting in English class.
Yeah, you get a little bit crazy about it.
If you have a conversation with me, I don't know what you're talking about, you better believe I'm going to be an expert by the end of the day. Because I don't ever want that feeling of being dumb ever again.
Oh, I have that feeling almost daily.
I made it like this thing
about certain things.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
I don't like it either. Yeah.
I would be like, I don't have an answer for you, but I will soon.
Yeah.
And I'll study it. So same thing went into fitness, and I was like, he couldn't pay me enough to be a coach because I was making good money at the asset company. I'd worked my way all the way up.
Yeah.
Hustled, and I was like, so I reached out to another coach who wasn't the head coach, and I'm like, look, this is kind of a personal question, but like, how much money do you make? Yeah. And she was like, well, I'm like, really?
Not bad.
Okay. I'm like, I think I could do this. Like, but also I was passionate about fitness. And I'm like, and I was scared because how many people follow their passion and leave the stable foundation career that you built?
Right.
Yeah. At this point, I went from real estate to foreclosure right into mortgage. Like I'd been building this up for
sure.
And
it's a 180.
Yeah, I did. And I remember sitting in my CEO's office, kind of like we're sitting across the desk, and I'm like, look, I don't want to do this. I love being here. I go, but I think I'm going to pursue this opportunity. And she goes, it's bittersweet, Ashley. She's like, you're meant to do this.
Oh, wow.
She goes, you always have a place here. She's like, does it hurt me? Yeah. She goes, but this is your path.
Oh, that's good.
And she was so supportive.
I
would never forget that. And she was like, honestly, a few months ago, I actually looked into how much it is to invest in Orange Theory because you talk about it so much. I was a person during like holidays, fitness, people come to me, fitness advice, health, nutrition advice. And that's kind of how, when people start questioning you, that's how you learn too. Because you want to provide these people good, solid answers, not just like an assumption. And that's one thing about me is I will never give you something that I don't know about.
Yeah.
So, she was like, this is it. This is for you. And so I did. I went and I was like,
you're all in now
if I sink or swim, here we go.
Yep.
And within 3 months of coaching Orange Theory, I became head coach. I was the fastest promoted head coach in our company at the time.
And which location were you at locally here?
In St. Pete. Yeah, I worked. So that was it too. I'm a hustler. So I started at Tyrone, Orange Theory Tyrone. And that's who the coach who brought me on. So obviously I worked under him. And I also worked at 4th Street and I worked in South Tampa. So 1 day a week or 2 days a week, I would open Tyrone. I would go run to South Tampa. I would coach the mid-morning in South Tampa. So I would do the 5, 6, 7:30, 5, 16, 7:30. I would run to South Tampa. I would coach the 10, 11, 12, something like that, like 10, 15, 11, 30, 12. Yeah. And I would get a little break, and then I would close 4th Street.
Oh, my goodness.
4:15, 5:30, 6:45, and 8.
That's the life of a trainer. Now, I never did the group classes. Orange Theory wasn't around when I started in the late 90s, but the hours in terms of you're up at 4 or 4:30, and you're starting at 5:30 with your first client, and you're going through the morning, then you usually, go right up to lunch, then you have like a break or a gap in that kind of the middle of the day, and then you're hitting it again from like 4 to like 8 at night. Even if you love it, you reach a point where you're running on fumes because you've been going for like 14 hours.
I never ran out of fumes.
You never ran out of fumes.
4.5 years, never ran out of fumes. Wow. I jumped out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning.
Just ready to rock.
Ready to go. You know why? Because Orange Theory, as much as it's addicting to the clientele, you're changing so many lives. And that's the difference. That's why I said I never wanted to do personal training, like individual training, because you feel that energy of the room. It is a high that you can't even experience. You have anywhere from 24 up to what the largest capacity, to a 3G for a 24-person class would be 36 people in a room. Wow. You're changing 36 lives. You have the opportunity to change 36 people's day, sink or swim. Like, they come for your energy, and that's what I was known for. Like, I am still, like, you watch YouTube videos, like, I'm very much like, you showed up today to work, get your excuses out of the way. Let's go. I believe in you more than you do, and I need you to believe in yourself a little bit more right now. Right. Dig a little bit deeper. You can do this. And that was just my approach. And so I had created a following. People loved that real, honestly, that coaching. That wasn't like just a passion, like reading a template, putting a playlist on. Like, I was all in.
Yeah, the checked out trainer who's like 4... 5,
and it's
6.
Yeah, and and I saw that big box
engaged,
gems.
You're in people's faces for good in good
just
ways.
There and like, let's go, 3, 2, 1, all out. Walk it off, like jog it out. Let's go. Like, it's nonstop. Like Orange Theory, the amount of like energy it takes to be a good coach. Like, there are very coaches who are just like those personal trainers. They have that personal trainer background, so they don't know how to maybe cultivate that energy, or they don't have the passionate to do it either. And that's where we look at the passion and process, right? Some people are passionate, they don't have process. Some people have process, but they can't get the passion. They just can't ignite it. But for me, because, fitness kind of saved my life. I was partying a lot, and I realized that it helped my depression, and it pulled me out, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. I wanted every single person I interacted with to have that same feeling. Yeah. So 4.5 years of Orange Theory, I just eat, sleep, breathe. Like, there's nothing that I would still be with them to this day if, unfortunate circumstances didn't happen. And it was great. So, I left and I survived. I coached at 3 studios and I got promoted to Orange Theory Brandon. Worst performing studio. They're about to sell it. We became the top performing studio back to back to back to back.
Really?
Because all you needed.
Orange Theory is at this point, how many states is Orange Theory in?
Oh, God.
I know it's
a lot.
It's in a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of different in the last 2 decades, there's been a lot of these
international. Yes.
Types of businesses that have popped up where it's kind of group oriented, where people are moving around to stations and stuff. And obviously, that's what's cool about Orange Theory is you get the mix of the cardio with
the rowing,
weights.
And the weights.
Yeah. And it is competitive, and it's an exciting atmosphere for people who need that kind of push and that guidance.
Just show up. I tell people the hardest part is show up.
Yeah, show up and good stuff's going to happen.
Exactly. Right? You're going to be in the worst mood. You're going to show up. You're going to be the best mood.
That's right.
And it all is dependent on the coach too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people even to this day at my gym that I work out at. There's coaches. I don't want to take your class. You have terrible energy. You have terrible music. You have terrible form. I'm just like, no, it's a no for me. Yeah. So again, and I'm a coach, and I don't take it personal when I'm not. Maybe I'm too much for people, and I am, and I know I am because you always remember those special clients you have who say those special words to you. And one person one time told me, she goes, "Can you just tone it down a bit?" And I'm like, "Oh, I thought you said turn it down. Tone it down. No, I can't. Turn it down. I could do that a little bit, but tone it down. Nah, I'm me. Either you like me or you don't. You're welcome to my class, but I'm not going to change who I am on account of one person in a room of 24 people.
Yeah.
Those other 23 people are here for me because they want that energy. They want that excitement. They want the push. They don't want me to be like, all right, guys, 3, 2, 1, just walk it out, take it easy. I'm like, oh, let's go. Here it is, fire it up. But anyway, so that was that. And then 2020 pandemic happened, and everybody's world's flipped upside down.
Right. But you're at the time, now when did you...
Oh yeah, I completely forgot the whole...
Well, Frank, you at some point, because you're bodybuilding and you're competing, and the old downtown powerhouse in Tampa was just a cool, special kind of place.
It was.
And we used to film there a lot.
Yeah,
Critical
I used
Bench.
to train there.
Yeah. Critical Bench spent a lot of time going there to film with the Aaron Stearns and the John Hansons and Aaron Reed and Ben Pekulski and all these big names in the sport of bodybuilding and competition, and Dan Long, and so you're there working out on occasion.
So how I met?
How'd you meet Frank?
So when I started bodybuilding with Steve, that was it. Steve was also Frank's coach. So when Frank was bodybuilding, Steve was his coach as well.
Okay.
And when Steve moved to his own warehouse, he had a small place down by Bayshore. And he outgrew it. Bodybuilding started kind of getting a little bit more popular. When I started, it still wasn't that popular. People didn't understand it. People were like, oh, but then slowly, as I was bodybuilding, it started getting more popular. I started in 2015, and it got more popular 2016, 17, 18. Now it's its own, there's bodybuilders everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody's competed in your show. You throw a rock and they've competed. And I met Frank through Steve. So Steve would sometimes have 2 clients at the same time. And Steve liked to train with me. So he wouldn't train me. We would just work out together. Because I'm going to lift as heavy as I can. So there's never a time where he wasn't lifting with me. He was never just training me. He was like, all right, let's go. He would do my pinches, check my body fat, talk about my diet. How many times did I cheat that week? How many Quest bars did I eat? Why did I do that? And I'm like, because I'm hungry. But yeah, and then he'd be like, all right, let's go train, and he's like, Frank's going to meet us at the gym today. So I'm like, okay, cool. So that's how I met Frank. Frank would be training with us. So I was just kind of one of the guys to train because when I lifted heavy, I had great form. You didn't have to focus. He would push me and I would take it. Here we go. Make me lift heavier. All right, let's go. He'd be there to spot me, and then we'd spot each other. And it was a whole little gang powwow.
Cool.
And that's how I met Frank. And then Frank reached out to me and was like, hey, I filmed for this YouTube channel, Critical Bench. If you ever want to come by, they're looking for females.
I think we were hitting him up. We were like, dude, surely big buff guy like you know some fit women at Downtown Powerhouse or wherever you're training. We're always looking for local talent.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, I got a few people. And I think he probably put me in touch with you.
Yeah.
Along with 2 or 3 others, but you were responsive, and very quickly we got you in here for a filming session.
That was with Brian.
You came in and filmed most of your stuff with Brian.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of started having you back here and there.
Yep. Tanya.
Every few months
with you.
with me. Yeah. And before you know it, we have, at that point, probably 50 to 100 videos of you. And then COVID, right,
Yep.
it happens and all that stuff. And we're pushing, we're still grinding, still making content. And then we got to a point towards the end of 2021 here where we were feeling like we need to do something that we haven't done yet.
I forgot I did a postpartum series in the beginning of 2021.
Oh, that's right.
It didn't take off though.
No.
The videos did not do well at all. They're still up there. They didn't do great.
I bet you if we look, there's probably one or two though that did. It's funny how YouTube works.
Yeah.
Where something doesn't seem to catch, and then you go back a year later and you look, you're like, oh, that thing's got 30, 40,000 views.
I did a postpartum series.
You did do
right
a postpartum
after COVID.
Right after COVID.
Yep.
After you had the little
because I had my daughter in November of 2020.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But we knew you at this point. We knew you well, along with like Frank and Coach Zach and Becky. Of course, we have a long history with Becky Fox. We've done stuff with her for over 10 years. And we said, we've never really committed to like multiple coaches for a period of time. We had Brian for a long time, but he was like, he was a contractor who became staff, and he was became the face of our YouTube channel for a period of years, but we didn't want it centered around one person because we didn't feel like that was inclusive enough. We're trying to reach men and women, 30 to 60 plus years old, of all walks of life and different fitness backgrounds, mostly beginner level. And we're like, we need to have, a nice blend of men and women. So we're like, we do 2 women, 2 guys, and then, with the 2 channels. And so we had this whole plan that worked out. I think it worked out successfully in terms of the amount of content, good content that we put out there. So you and Frank,
Yep.
The guy who introduced you to us became the faces of the Compound channel, which is a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more about lifting technique and workout, more aggressive hardcore workouts. And so, gosh, there's so many great videos with the 2 of you working out and helping people to work out. I mean, you're talking about touching 36 lives in a class at Orange Theory, which is great, especially in proximity when they're face to face.
Yeah.
But think about the thousands of people you've reached with
with
your
the
video
programming.
content.
I did like 6 weeks of programming, free.
Yeah,
there are a lot of
free.
people
That's
who couldn't afford gyms as the rise of cost went up.
That's right.
That because I did the Compound channel, I would see it on I have thousands of people on my Facebook because I've coached thousands of people at this point. And they're like, I can't afford this or that anymore. Like, does anybody have any recommendations? Like, I gotta go to Planet Fitness. It's $10 a month. They're like, what can I do? Like, anybody know who would help, like, at a reasonable rate? And I'm like, look, I got you. I have a whole 6 weeks of programming for free.
Yep.
Like, you just need a crunch. Like, crunch would be your best bet because they have the kettlebells, they have the wall balls, they have the slam balls. You're Planet Fitness.
And you never got overly technical or too much equipment. Usually your routines were either body weight or a kettlebell and pair of dumbbells. And not much beyond that. And so that's what made it really was a great year, 2022, in terms of content creation for Critical Bench on YouTube.
Yeah.
With you and Frank on the Compound, and then Zach and Becky really owning the main channel with a little bit softer, easier level, beginner level content, plus like a little bit more wide reaching when it, like nutrition stuff and sleep and energy. They were going off in kind of different areas where you and Frank were much more kind of workouts.
Yes.
And so after attacking that hard for about a year, then we said, well, now we're going to just we've actually decided to put YouTube a little bit more on the back burner and focus more on product side of things and programming, paid for things, while still contributing quite a lot of time and energy to YouTube. It's just not the focus anymore. But what's nice is we can still have all of you back, and we still are, to create these Monday live workout experiences for people, and other content. And shorts have become so big, so we do a lot more shorts, and just to keep it alive.
Yep.
But we have 5,000 videos on YouTube, so we just don't want to stop contributing to something that is working and a great resource for people. That's evergreen. I mean, that's what's the beauty of it. Is
You built it.
It's we've built something that's pretty impressive that gets tens and tens of thousands of views every single day, and those are lives that are changing and people that are coming back because they haven't seen the 368 videos that you're in. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of Ashley there. There's a lot of Frank and Zach there, and it'll be hard for people to go through and see all of the content that's there, and it's all free and so accessible. That's what's amazing.
Like again, the takeaway from like filming with you guys too is like when you approached me, and I'm like, at the time, I had just stayed at home with my daughter. I joined another brand, and I quickly learned that nobody cares if you're a mom. Even parents themselves, if they have older kids, they just don't remember how hard it was.
Oh my gosh.
And, I joined this brand when I was pregnant, and they coaxed me into it and were like, look, well, we're understanding we're parents ourselves, and we're going to be, you can work from home, and we're going to be, reasonable. No, I was working every single day of the week, opening and closing on Wednesday. My daughter was 3-4 months postpartum, and I had 1 day off a week out of 7. And one of those days I opened and closed.
Oh my goodness.
So, yes. And then I was told I was a disappointment, because the brand wasn't succeeding. I mean, you're talking about 2021, right out of pandemic. Wow. People are still wildly cautious about what they're doing, where they're going. There's just a lot of propaganda out there trying to still fearmonger people into the situation. And, I was just treated like terrible, right? To be honest, completely horrendous. And
you're already dealing with the after, that
being a mom,
those difficulties that just come naturally.
Figuring out this whole new life. And when you guys came along, I did the postpartum series. That was, I'd already left that company at that point at the end of 2021.
Yeah. And you were only months. I mean, what are you?
Yeah.
You were like 3 to 6 months.
I came in, I think, what was it, 6 months postpartum? Yeah. So it was like at the tail end of working for them. I was like, I can't, because there's no way I could film and do that. So you guys, I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that because I had all this free time now. And then I just picked up a few private clients who were my previous members that I coached for years before, and I traveled to them, and that was it. I was like, my primary purpose as I get older and, going into faith and stuff like that, my primary purpose on this planet is my daughter. I've changed thousands of lives at this point, before we approached the 2022.
That's right.
I changed thousands of lives at this point. Like, yes, that's my passion, and I love fitness, and I poured my whole heart and soul into it. But I was treated so poorly, leaving it back to back by 2 companies, that I was just done. While I was pregnant, I was treating poor. I was fired while pregnant.
Our country doesn't do such a great job with handling pregnancies in the workplace.
Yeah.
You hear about how other countries do it. They even give the husbands a paid time off because they realize
Kyle took 10 days off postpartum.
Right, 10 days.
Peyton was 10 days old when he went back to work.
I mean, it's in other countries. I mean, I know I can only speak for one that comes to mind in Sweden, because Mike's Swedish, first generation. And I'm pretty sure that they get 90 days. Yeah. Like the husbands.
Yeah, because you need a bonding time.
Dude, you have a baby. You have a new life, and if you have a good job that cares for you as an employee, I mean, how do you show somebody that you care?
Yeah.
You let them put their time where it's needed most, which is their wife who just had a baby and their brand new baby. How can I transition into this very new life, this very new chapter that is unlike? It was very
difficult. Yeah. Because, like you said, the workplace was just not it. Pregnant and then postpartum, having my daughter, we didn't have any family here. Kyle going back to work
so now he's working like a madman, trying to provide for
and I got this job while I was still pregnant with the promise that it would be, and then now suddenly Kyle's having to be flexible in his schedule. He pays all the bills, and it's just it was more stress than it was worth. Yeah. And just the way I was being treated wasn't fairly either with a newborn baby. I was pumping in the bathroom because I'd be there all day. I had to pump. And
Oh,
I'd
my
be pumping
goodness.
in my car on the way to work. I would be at work and pumping in the bathroom. And it was just like that's the reality of like moms, breastfeeding moms and listen, there's a lot of money that goes into formula companies saying formula is the same as breast milk. It is absolutely not.
No.
That's $1 billion company right there. Breast milk is going to be the best for your baby, regardless if you're feeding directly or you're pumping directly. Like I pumped for 14 months because I knew the benefits of what, like, was it hard on my mental health? Absolutely. But the one thing about me is that I will give a little bit to get a lot. I will suffer when I know there's an end. And I knew that I can suffer a little bit while I was breastfeeding. I had DMARE, which is basically for the first 90 seconds of your letdown, you have these very extreme feelings, like horrendous. It's DMER, and you can Google it. Listeners can Google it, but I had that. So every time I put that pump on, I just had to take a deep breath, and I knew it was coming. It was very bad. And
this
a lot
massive, like uncontrollable, like
and it's because of
hormonal
hormone
response.
Yeah, and so in the our society today, people say, "Oh, things make you uncomfortable. Don't do them. If this is terrible, like your mental health is more important." Blah, blah, blah. Well, how about let's talk about strength? You know, let's talk about like you're a mother for a reason, and like yes, if you're gonna want to like kill your baby, then by all means, like first seek mental like help and therapy and stuff like that. But being a little uncomfortable being a mom, well, hello, welcome to the next
motherhood. That's right. For the next 20 years.
You know, if you think about the benefits that your child, the thing that you brought into this earth, that they get from even, they say just like a few drops of breast milk, it's wild. Like it's phenomenal. It's amazing. The female body is amazing. The fact that it can produce life. Your breast milk changes based off if your baby gets a cold, your body will produce natural antibodies for baby. So if I'm introduced to a cold while out, my baby's not sick, I'll produce it and I'll pass it to the baby so she's protected.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah, something that comes dry or it
has a shelf life.
It has a shelf life.
Yeah.
That's, you're never going to convince me that that's going to be better than what nature, what God created.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, I'm a huge advocate. Now, listen, I know there's certain circumstances where it's just not going to work. It's not going to happen. Right.
Yes.
And I actually feel really badly for those mothers because I think every mother would like for that process to go as it should be, as nature intended. And I think, I mean, my wife was able to do it for both our kids for 15 months, 16 months. And I think that is a big reason why the kids are healthy. And and strong immune systems and strong bones and, you know, just everything.
The amount of nutrition they get in that amount of time, and it's so important when they're that young to get the nutrition they need. You know, there are certain situations where women's milk just never comes in, and there are situations where, like, Peyton didn't latch, so I had to use what is called a nipple shield. So certain people's anatomy doesn't allow them to breastfeed either, unfortunately, and nobody ever talks about this while you're pregnant.
No, of course
nobody ever says, "Hey,
let me taboo thing.
Let me look at your breast and make sure that you can actually feed a baby with your anatomy." And they're like, nobody talks about that. Nobody says, "Hey, you have flat nipples and you have protruding nipples and you have this and you have that." You don't know until you're in it.
Wow.
So I had to use what was called a nipple shield so she could latch. And even that, it just didn't work. You know, we tried for 7 weeks. And I remember the moment I was like, I'm done, I'm pumping. This is it. And I had a fear of the pump. I hand pumped for 3 months before I used the electric one because I was so afraid of it.
Wow.
But I could not get her to feed, and she was crying, I was crying. Kyle's like, "Just give her the bottle." I'm like, "I'm not giving her a bottle," because I had the hand pump and I would pump when she was sleeping, you know. Anyways, and I said, "Take it, just take it." And I went to the room and I sat in the bed and I cried my eyes out. I referred to my daughter as it. I said, "Take it," and like I was so disconnected from her. It was so hard, and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I went to bed and I woke up the next day and said, I never want to feel like that ever again. And that's where most people would be like, my mental health says I'm just going to formula. And I said, nope, I'm going to pump. And that's it. I set my mind to it and I was like, no, I don't want to feel that way again. But I know.
Well, that's your switch again. That's just the way you operate.
Yeah.
You make up your mind for something that
and
you feel strongly about, I was like, and you don't look back. I
felt strongly about breastfeeding and breast milk.
Yeah.
And I knew the benefits of it. And I flipped the switch. I said, nope. Never again am I going to feel like that. I am still going to be uncomfortable, and that's fine. I'm okay with a little discomfort. I'm in bodybuilding. It's a lot of discomfort for 5 minutes on stage.
That's right.
You know, I can work 3 days straight because I know next week I'm not working 3 days straight. You know, I can do a little bit for a little bit because I know there's an end in sight. And most people don't realize it like that. They don't want to get uncomfortable in that aspect. Like, I'm sorry, I already opened on Monday, Wednesday. I can't open on Tuesday. Well, sure you can, because next week you're not opening on Tuesday. You can still work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if it helps somebody else. You know, like there's that caveat. A lot of people, there's a lot that goes into that. And kids had another podcast. But anyways, yeah, so that was it. And then you guys came in on 2020 and 2022, and you're like, hey, like...
The timing was definitely good for you.
Yeah.
Where it became a nice extra bit of income for your family at the right time. Yeah. And it fulfilled a need for us, so everyone was, you know, kind of winning. And you're in a good environment.
And I was coaching, I was still touching people. Yeah. That was it. It was like, I wasn't coaching in front of people anymore. You know, I had my private clients, and I wasn't like getting that reach, you know, and like you said, thousands and thousands of people, and it's like, Kayma, you're like, what are you going to do? You guys laugh because you're like, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Like, why do we even ask you? Because you're always going to say yes. You're like, do you want to do a pie in the face? Of course I do. Just make sure it's like not dairy whipped cream, because that stuff stays in your nose.
That's right. So let's talk about some of the. So obviously we had. We alluded to the 2022 experience, having you all here, all four of you, multiple times a month, sometimes all together, or sometimes just two of you or three of you. You know, it was a nice mix on occasion, sometimes a guest. And we started doing more live content, live streaming last year as our first real experience doing it and getting really good at it and trying different things and stuff. So what are some of the, like, obviously we'll talk about that, the pie in the face one, but what's anything that comes to mind from last year with all the times you're here? I mean, obviously.
Oh my God, when I competed with Frank.
Oh my gosh.
Remember when I tried to do that handstand with the ball? What was I trying to do? It's like a ball. I was doing a hand. I don't know. I can't remember.
What was that competition? It was like a workout competition between you
it was
and
horse.
Frank.
We played horse.
You played fitness horse.
Yes, fitness horse. And I totally crushed him.
You kicked his butt.
Yeah. Well, because
Frank is a big, strong, athletic dude.
Yeah.
No doubt. But certain things we wanted to...
I would say he's big and strong. The athletic part needs to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
At least you won't want to play him in basketball. He's a terror on the basketball court.
He's big. He would bump me and I'd fly.
He knocked me over once. I went flying. Yes. I'm 220 pounds.
Yeah.
Big Frank hit me. I just launched like a little pebble. It was hilarious.
So my leg up on Frank is when I stopped bodybuilding, I stopped training like a bodybuilder.
Okay.
So that was it. I always knew that once I was done bodybuilding, I wanted to get back into functional training like an athlete.
Yes.
Like that was my goal. I was like, I want to be athletic again. I want to be fast. I want to be agile. I want to be able to jump. I want to be able to run. I wanted to be able to do all these things, right? Especially as I get older. Because just because you get older doesn't mean you slow down. Just because you get older doesn't mean you stop jumping. You stop jumping when you get older because you stop jumping.
That's right.
So that's where my edge was on Frank, was like
the athleticism and the agility
came right back. Yeah. So I didn't start training until 10 months postpartum. I tried multiple times, but with the newborn baby, primary parenting by myself, trying to work during that period of time too for the first 6 months, it was just, I was failing a lot. And I would try to work out. I would set the goal, okay, I'm going to work out tomorrow, and I would fail. And that's one thing about me, is like, you have to win the day. And I was failing my day, because the biggest task of my day of trying to get back into training what I was failing at. So it was doing more damage on my mental health than it was my physical health. So I just pulled the plug. I said, I'm done. I'm just not going to do it. Like I was rollerblading with my daughter. We do it every morning. That was fitness, but it was something. She got fresh air. The impacts of the first hour of sunlight a day and the last hour a day, we know those benefits. As a baby, that was important for her, which is probably why she's such a good sleeper to this day. But I made it a priority that first thing in the morning, she already had a bottle of water. I put her in the car, put her in the jogging stroller. She'd drink her breakfast milk while we were rollerblading St. Pete Pier. Like, you ask any of those people, they saw me from postpartum when she was this big up until, But I just stopped training. I did the postpartum series. I stopped training until 10 months postpartum, and then I started training again. And when I started training again, it was the athletic-based training. And that's where I got an edge on Frank, because that was 2021. That was in 2022, but I had already been training by that point, like 7-8 months. I was in it.
And you I forget what all the exercises were, but did he even get a letter on you?
I don't think
maybe
so.
An H,
maybe an H,
maybe an H on something. But you did like double unders,
Yep.
and he can do some, but not like you can do it.
Yeah,
not proficient in that. And then did you guys do like a plank? Did you hold like a plank for a certain amount of time?
I did like Oh, I know what the last one was where he gave up was, remember I did the handstand
Yes.
and I bent down, I grabbed the wall ball and I came back up into the handstand.
Into the handstand. He was like, I'm not even
going to try that. I'm going to break my head.
Attempt that.
Yeah.
And then something else. Was there a box jump?
There was a box jump in there. I want to say, did I do a single leg box jump? I can't remember what I did.
Or it was so many in a certain amount of time, or I don't know. But anyway, you crushed him in Fitness Horse, and the video is the proof, and it's on. I think it was a live stream.
Yeah,
I think it was one of the lives that we did. So it's up there. Look at the Critical Bench Compound channel if you want to check out Coach Ashley kicking Frank's butt. I was out there as the facilitator / MC of the thing, so that was fun.
Did Steve and I have a race? Who did I run around the building with?
Oh my gosh, you ran around the building?
Yeah, remember I did another one. Was that you?
Was that me? That was me.
We ran around the building and we did the wall sit, and I could wall sit forever, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this.
So we did one too.
Yeah.
That was the pie in the face one.
Okay, yeah.
So that was, I think we did 3 things.
Yep.
The wall sit was first.
And I
Who
won
can do
that.
the longest wall sit? And after like 2 minutes, I'm just like, I can't keep going. Like
I was fine.
I'm done. And then we did
the hang.
We did dead hang.
I didn't even try that.
Okay.
My grip. So
right.
I had the smallest
So I got
hands.
that one. So we're tied at this point.
Yeah.
And then we had who
ran around the
can
building.
go around the building
I won
fastest.
that one.
You did. Just, I mean, it was.
I was
very
there.
close.
Yeah. You know why? Because I conserved my energy.
Yeah. No, you did.
You try to go hard out the gate.
I didn't go too hard out the gate. I knew you'd have kick at the end, so I was trying to conserve. But I mean, it was enough kick where I'm like, geez, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And one lap around our building is, say roughly the length of a track.
Yeah.
So it was like doing a 400 meter run. That was fun. So then the loser got the pie in the face. So we just did whipped cream in a tin.
In a tin foil.
But didn't we why did we decide that we were each going to pie each other? Why, even though
I think we did probably one more thing, and I lost.
Was that what it was? Well, we'd have to go back and watch the video.
Have to, yeah, but we both got a pie in the face.
Ended up both getting a pie in the face. But I ended up cutting your chin.
But it was my fault, though, because I said one. We said on 3, and I said 1, 2, and
you really mushed me pretty good.
I did.
But I mean, I came at you pretty strong.
I think you came up and it got my chin into my lip.
Yeah, so she's bleeding, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just all whipped creamed up.
I'm fine.
And we did use the coconut base cream so that you didn't have dairy up your nostrils.
Listen, that is, if you take anything away from this podcast today, if you do pie in the face, do not use dairy whipped cream. If you get that in your nose, it'll smell like rotten milk for 2 weeks.
Yes,
it's
it
horrible.
Will. So does anything else come to mind besides Halloween Spooktacular? I mean, in terms of fun experiences over the course
we did the pier.
Oh, the Clearwater Beach deal, which is actually, that was actually very early this year, wasn't it? And was you, Zach, and Mitch.
Yep.
Went to Clearwater Beach. It was our first ever go out in the public with a microphone
and challenge people.
What was your memory for the day? I mean, you guys interacted with a lot of people.
It was great. I mean, from the fitness challenges to, we had crowds around us. People were like, what is going on? Well, we had a camera crew, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
3 fit people.
Attention.
Telling people to do burpees, or we were quizzing people on muscles. What is this muscle? Where do you find this muscle? And some people just had no idea about their bodies. We're like, where's your delt? And a girl's like, and we're like, no. She's like, okay, on my arm. And we're like, there you go.
Getting closer.
Getting closer. And she's like, I'm like, that's your bicep. She's like, forearm, tricep. She's like, oh. I'm like, yes, your shoulder. But it was interesting kind of going out. And I think because we're in fitness, we are kind of secluded to this community who kind of knows. We can talk to each other about fitness and have a full-blown conversation.
Sure.
And about our workout yesterday, and oh god, my rear delt sore, my hamstrings are really sore today from my 4th of July workout yesterday. And we can say, oh, my delt sore, or oh, my hamstring sore, and you're like, oh man, what'd you do? Did you do deadlifts? You could interact with hamstring soreness, here's a movement, did you do that? And we can go back and forth. But it was interesting to see, and Gen Pop talking to people and asking them about different muscles on their body, or if you were gonna, so the one guy, if you're gonna work out your shoulders at the gym, what are you gonna do? Right? And realizing that it's really not general knowledge.
No.
And that's always fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. I mean, a lot of people will know more about their gadgets or their car, or
the next influencer, a celebrity,
over their own body.
Yes, yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. In fact, I know we've talked about wanting to do it again at some point, and I think we will, because it went over very well. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
You guys had prizes to give away to people, and it really made for some fun content to get outside the compound and to be in the public a little bit, which is different for us. And then, of course, a big moment for us was that Halloween Spooktacular. We had kind of a live costume contest, and it paired with some membership stuff that we were doing, trying to increase our membership. So it was like in tandem with another marketing contest that we had going. So we said, why don't we do a live like Halloween costume reveal with our 4 coaches and me and my crazy character of Ralph just being an idiot, like a crazy Mean Gene Okerlund type guy. So you were the legendary Harley Quinn, who's actually over your shoulder on the wall over there. That's Harley Quinn. That was you. Frank was, of course, Hulk Hogan, which was great because he had the Hulk, the fake stash on top of the stash.
I know,
which made it even.
And he already has like a mullet too, but he had the blonde.
He's already got the big frame and the big arms and everything. So I mean, it was just, oh yeah, brother, and and we had. I think once he really let himself just be in character, he had so much fun. It was funny. It was really entertaining to see Frank
Zach
like that.
Being the
Zach was perfect,
Spartan.
just this ripped like Spartan warrior with his big voice and stuff. It
was great.
And then Becky as the 4th. Remember what she was? Do you remember?
I don't remember what she was.
Olivia Newton-John. All dressed up and dazzled in her 80s.
Oh my gosh! Yes, yes. Now I was like, why can't I remember Becky? Yes,
like an aerobics instructor nightmare from the 80s, right?
Yes.
And the 4 of you guys, that was really a lot of fun. We had some great photos from that day.
A lot of amazing photos.
Pro-looking photos from Jared.
We have really good lighting in there. They did such a fantastic job setting up that whole room.
They did. Yeah, we had it all decked out in spider webs and we had a good old time. So that was really the kind of the culmination of the year, filming it in kind of late October after going hard since March. Yep. And so that was a lot of fun and good memories.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.